We are awaiting eagerly the Great Repeal Bill, which we understand you will be introducing to Parliament reasonably soon, with the expectation that it will pass on to the statute book by the end of this session.
I'm having trouble hearing you, sorry.
The Great Repeal Bill will pass by the end of this session.
Yeah.
Now, as you are aware, whilst you are conducting your negotiations, the Brussels sausage machine is continuing to churn out ever more regulations. Can you just first of all say what is the status of regulations that are issued post passage of the Great Repeal Bill?
Well, the purpose of the Repeal Bill is to ensure that on the day of departure that our corpus of law is identical to the acquis communautaire to that point. So the point of break is not after the bill has passed. The point of break is the point of Brexit. And up until that point, everything passed, we will continue to be a full member of the European Union, and we will obey their laws, and we'll pay our bills, and all the rest of it.
So does the Repeal Bill mean that future regulations issued by the European Union, whilst we are still members, become part of British law, even though they've been issued subsequent to the bill?
Yes.
Right. Now, as you're aware, there are a number of issues being debated in Brussels at the moment that are of huge importance to the creative industries. The first I just want to mention is the digital single market. Now, there are aspects of that which would be very harmful to the creative industries, to the Premier League, particularly around the issue of maintaining territorial licensing and geo-blocking. Now, the British government position previously was to defend those interests and to resist attempts to remove territorial licensing. However, it has been suggested that because UKREP are having to devote their attention to the forthcoming negotiations, other issues they are backtracking or downplaying, and that they don't wish to expend political capital by being difficult about those aspects when they are about to go into a negotiation. Can you say whether or not you think there is any justice to that concern, and can you give a reassurance that UKREP will remain as robust in defending British interests in ongoing discussions as it has been to date, or indeed actually rather more so?
The short answer is no and yes. I don't recognise this idea that somehow that we are reducing the emphasis on ongoing business. We take stances for everything we do in the European Union. One, what's in our national interests. Two, what's in the European Union's interest. And those two things are rarely in conflict, and I don't think they are here. We are against unnecessary restrictions, as you know, in all trade areas, and we will be continuing down that route. I've not actually talked to the DCMS Secretary on that issue in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but my understanding, my expectation is that we'll be continuing our normal stance. Olly, do you want to pick it?
If I may just briefly, Mr. Whittingdale, I mean, just on your general point, the emphasis on ongoing business, if anything, is increasing, because we're very conscious, of course, as ministers have said, that this is the market with which we will be dealing closely for years to come, and this is an opportunity still to continue to push it in a direction of openness and free trade, and so that's what we're trying to do. UKREP operates under Minister's authority. It doesn't have a different policy position on any of these issues, and the same collective process for agreeing our stance in committees from working groups up to the Council, with which you'll be very familiar, still operates.
Okay.
Just a generic point, Mr. Whittingdale. The digital area is one which is probably getting from us a disproportionate amount of interest, because of course it matters to the industries you're talking about, but it matters right across the board, getting all these standards right. Digital has more overspill effect in everything else than any other aspect of policy.
Well, I'm glad that you recognise its importance, but can I ask that you will actually talk to perhaps the Premier League and the film industry, both of whom depend upon the maintenance of territorial licensing, which some in Europe are seeking to remove as part of digital single market negotiation.
Okay. I have not yet spoken to the Premier League, but I've talked to the digital industry more than once. Indeed, I think I said when Sadiq Khan came to see me last week, he brought with him John Sorrell, who you may recognise, yeah?
You mentioned that,
Can I move on to another ongoing area of discussion affecting the creative industries, which is the Audiovisual Media Services Directive? Now, you've actually already recognised that for the creative industries, the paramount concern is the maintenance of the country of origin principle. We had Ivan Rogers sitting in that chair who said common sense would tell you that the day after Brexit, there is no reason why our regulatory regime should be any less compliant than the day before Brexit. And therefore, if one was being sensible, you would just accept that. But that's not how Europe works. And the key issue for Europe is that once we are no longer subject to European law, then the country of origin principle could no longer apply. Do you agree with that assessment? And what optimism do you have that we can maintain the country of origin principle?
We've got explicit work going on exactly that issue. I haven't seen it for some weeks, but if you like, I'll write to the committee in detail on it. But it's a clear area. Where it's ongoing equivalence regimes and equivalence mechanisms are going to be of incredible importance, particularly in service industry areas, whether it's film, video, any of the creative arts, or indeed banking, for that matter. So this is one we've got a big attention to it. So if I may, I'll write to you in detail on it.
Okay. And one last one, equally important to those industries, which the chairman raised at the beginning, which is the data adequacy requirement. We had it put to us by the tech sector that the maintenance of the ability to transfer data across borders within Europe was utterly essential in something which is going to be of increasing importance to this country. However, they also put it to us, well, not only was it essential for UK-based companies to be able to transfer data to other European countries freely, it was equally important for a very large number of European countries that they could transfer data to this country, particularly since some of their servers and other support is based here. To what extent can you mobilise other European businesses for whom the maintenance of this kind of freedom to transfer data and indeed more widely other goods, to what extent can you take advantage of that and get them to argue our case in the forthcoming negotiations?
I mean, we will. You're quite right. Some pretty powerful players. I mean, Microsoft has a 3-server arrangement mirrored here, Dublin and Amsterdam, if I'm from memory. Google, similar issues. So, yeah, we will be marshalling those people. It's even wider than you describe. When the chairman raised it, I considered whether I should go into detail on it, but I will now. There was a challenge by a man called Schrems, an Austrian called Schrems, on safe harbour status against the Americans. And of course, the moment we're outside, it's conceivable we could be vulnerable to such a challenge. So one of the strategies I'm arguing inside government for at the moment is we make ourselves extra robust in that respect. So and that's got security implications, commercial implications, direct involvement in commercial implications for all other industries, because data is so important there, and of course enormously important implications for the digital industry, the tech industry itself. So yes, we will be engaging that. As I think I said earlier, this is going to be not just the whole of government, it's going to be a whole of country operation, a whole of society operation once we get underway.
Well, just on that point, you mentioned the importance to big international companies like Microsoft and Google, but what they've put to us is that almost every business in every sector now makes use of their technology, and therefore they will be directly damaged as well. So you can mobilise virtually the entire of European industry.
And the disruption effects of this not being done properly is damaging across the board. You're quite right.
Okay, good. Thank you very much indeed.